I wanted to do some live coding, and I was working on some Python last night, and I thought, well, this seems like a good live coding challenge. So let me just jump into it here. Share my whole screen. Okay. So let me show you the problem. I am working on this guy here. Average rebounds by shoe brand, which is an extension challenge for Python. And I know what I want to do, but I don't know how I'm going to do it because Python's a relatively new language to me. So I want to start with some pseudocode. And then from there, I want to, try to figure out what the actual code is going to look like. And I wanted to record that process because I think that, this is essentially where you will find yourself in technical interviews and sometimes in live coding challenges. Sometimes live coding challenges in the assessments in this program, you know exactly what to do. And it's like, no biggie. And sometimes it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. So I want to try to model not panicking when you don't know what to do. Okay, here we go. So first of all, average rebounds by shoe brand takes in a brand. No, sorry. It does not take in a brand. It just it's going to return a dict. Dict is like a hash or an object in JavaScript. So I got to fix that first of all. That's important. So I need to go through all the players and separate them out by shoe brand. Okay, that actually, no, that actually looks like it's not a comment. There we go. So just kind of reviewing here, Nike, Adidas, Nike, Adidas, Nike, Puma, Nike, Adidas, Jordan. Okay, right. So that's why there's 4 keys in this dict, because there's 4 different brands, and then we have those, 2 of which there's really nothing to do. So yeah, I want to kind of separate them out by shoe brand. Then now, see, one of the things that's jumping into my mind is there's a way to do this using reduce, which I feel like is the best way to do it. But I'm not going to get distracted by the best way to do it because I just want to accomplish. I want to solve the problem, and then later I can circle back to the best way. But I did already look up reduce in Python, and so there's a little note there for that. But if I had the players, and the players here are themselves dicts, then I can go through so I'm going to create a list of dicts, a list of players. The list is in Python is an array. So I'm going to go through the lists and add up the points for each player and divide by the number of players. And at the end of that process, then create a key value pair in my resultant dict, my result dict, which will be the brand name and the average number. So Yeah, this feels super clunky. Like this is not the best way to do this. But again, I just want to try to solve this problem. Then once I solve it, I can sort of reflect and say, it's this repetition here, and maybe I could tighten this up by doing a reduce. Okay. So first I need to know, so I already have right. So actually now that I have a kind of a sense of it, now then I'm only focusing on this first problem. I need to go through the player dicks and separate them out by shoe brand. So for instance, I could have, all right, so I drop into a console because this is where I want to get immediate feedback about some of the sort of rough ideas that I have. I need to import there we go. So I have this thing players, which returns an array of every single player. So I could create a for loop for player in players. And then I can just kind of go through one at a time. Now, I almost want to, I mean, part of the problem is I'd really like to do this in a way that's more dynamic. So it's like I already know that there's a Nike, an Adidas, a Puma, and a Jordan. So I could just set 4 different arrays up to hold those. But it's almost like I'd like to set up, I'd like to loop through this, look at the shoe brand, and then start working in my resultant hash. So now I'm changing my pseudocode. Go through all the players and create key value pairs in my dict, in my result dict, with keys of the brands and values of nil, 0 or whatever, doesn't matter. But actually I could keep count right now. Values of 1 incrementing each time we see that name again. And just to be totally transparent, that, I've done this similar. I don't think I've done this actual task before because it used to have, I'm saying points, but it should be rebounds here. So this is a new task for me because I've added some stuff to this lab in this language, but that part about the key value pairs and kind of looping through that is something that I have done before in another language. So, that's an area where your experience definitely kind of comes into play here and your ability to kind of remember things. I don't remember how I did it. I kind of have a vague idea. So that's given me a new concept. So after I have that, then instead of still kind of struggling in the mess here of like, I'm gonna have this result, then what am I gonna do? So I'm actually I don't quite know how I'm gonna proceed from there, but it just feels like a good step because I want to end up with a result dict in game result equals Nike colon number. I could actually use okay. Okay, go through the player decks and create key value pairs. So I am creating a for loop, but I need to set up my result. I'm going to set up my result first so that I have that going. So basically, I think that the key insight here is if I say result, let's say I have a string hot dogs and I do result string equals 1, then if I look at result, now I have hot dogs, the key with the value 1. And if I ask about result something else, ooh, it's going to give me a key error, not nil. So I'm going to have to find a way to ask, is this a key? But I could use try and rescue instead. Okay, again, I'm getting kind of, okay, so I know that I know how to do the assignment. I don't know how to do the checking. So I'm kind of working on a smaller problem right now, which is how do I check if a key already exists in a dict? And that's where I'm going to go. How do I check if a key exists in a dict Python? Right. So again, using has key. Woo-wee. All right. And again, note that in live coding, I want to stick to documentation. This question did not result in documentation. It doesn't look like any of this is really documentation. I mean, maybe educative.io. I don't really know what that is, but I also got an answer, an idea from here. I can now switch to saying has key Python. I haven't really violated any rules, right? Python dictionary has key method tutorials point. Still trying to get to some docs. Here we go. What is this? Has key. Removed has key. Use the in operator instead. Okay, interesting. So this is where I take result. No. Well, first, because I'm not entirely sure whether my version of Python is the most recent version and whether it's been removed, I'm just going to try has key because that would be awesome. Something. Okay, does not like that. So use the in operator. I click on it. Oof, this is hard. Compare equal if and only if they have the same key value pairs. Comparisons. I mean, and the word in is like, oh, wait a minute. For user defined classes, no, it's not a class. Key strings. Boy, that's rough. Has key. Okay. So, I'm just gonna try something in result. Okay. Now what about hot dogs in result? Okay, so it really is that simple. Okay, so now I've figured out my sub problem, which is that I have a way to ask, which will set up a condition, whether it's there or not. If it's there, I do one thing. If it's not there, I do another thing. Okay, let's see if I can do it. Bum, 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 bum. I'm going to write the code here because it's multi-line code. For player in players. If, sorry, result equals empty dict. If player bracket, what's the name of this thing? Shoe brand in result. So this is the case where the shoe brand has already been established. Then we're going to do result bracket, sorry, shoe brand plus equals 1. Plus equal 1, name the thing with Python. I don't know. I'm going to try it. And then else, oops. Pay attention to my little red squiggles there. Then what I'm going to do is just set result. Wait a minute. This is not right. I need to get this string into here because I want this to be Nike or whatever. Equals 1. So we're going to go through every player and we're basically just going to try to get the key values established in a way that's not hard coding. Okay, I know it's Nike, etc. So we'll do return result and we'll just look at what we're working with here. So of course I'm going to have to leave this, come back in. Got a lot of code to go through here. I'm going to import everything. And now I'm going to just go ahead and call average rebounds by shoe brand. Average rebounds by shoe brand. Very long string. Hey, okay, that's something. All right, well, I feel good about accomplishing the first thing. Now, so the numbers are actually relevant because they're going to be my divisors. And the next thing I want to do is loop through and this is where reduce made me really think like this would be a reduced situation because basically, ideally, I'm just going to keep adding on. I just can't think of how, can't sort of wrap my head around how I want to do that. So again, I'm going to solve the problem another way because this is a live coding exercise and I just want to show that I can solve problems, even if it's not the best way. So basically now I want to go through, look at each player. If the player's shoe brand is Nike, then I'm going to add it to a sum number that starts at 0, and eventually I want to divide it by 7. So let me write that out. Solve that subproblem. Go through my result dict, and for each key, go through players, ask if the player wears that shoe brand. If he does, add their rebounds to a sum number which starts at 0. Yeah, and then at the end, we can reset the value for the brand as the sum number divided by the current value. So I'm just calculating the average, right? Because I take up the sum of everything and divide by how many there are. Okay, so it's like a nested for loop because I'm gonna have to loop through results, but then I'm gonna have to loop through players. I think I got a sense of it. Okay, I'm just gonna write it because again, with multi-line code, it's hard to write that in the console. I'm going to take out return result here and start my next step. For brand in result. Wait a minute. Iterating through, iterating through dictionary in Python. Wait a minute, 2.7. Give me a break. Okay, so it's the same structure and it's the key. Okay, great. So for the brand in result, we will for player in players. It's my nested loop. So now I have access to two variables, brand and player. So I'm going to do player bracket shoe brand. And I'm going to ask, oh, this is an if statement. If the player shoe brand is equal to the brand, then I know, aha, now this, I need to set up a sum variable so that I can keep track of this. Then if the player shoe brand is equal to the brand, then I'm looking at a player that I want to include. So I take my sum and I add on the player bracket rebounds. And if not, I don't care. So nothing needs to happen. At the end of looping through players, I'm going to take the sum and I'm going to divide by result brand. And I could just print this to see if it's working. And again, I'm just kind of demonstrating that this feels like a lot of steps. So I just want to see where I am. And I actually don't feel that lost in it, but okay, so we got a problem. All right. Because it's rebounds per game. It's fine. All right. So this needs to be rebounds per game. And then we'll try again. Okay. 4.928, 7.066. If I scroll up here, 4.93, 7.07. Okay, that's it. That's it, actually. Those are the numbers that I need, but they need to be rounded. That I don't know how to do. So again, back here, round, float, Python. Python round. I don't know what program is, but here's W3 schools. Boom, boom, boom. Looks like 2 decimals, so it's just comma 2. Okay, so we will now do, we can kind of do this in one fell swoop. First of all, this will be round, comma 2. And second of all, we really want to just assign result brand to be equal to this number. So we're reassigning the value of result brand. And that is it. That's it. And I think I'm ready to test. Okay, and assert. I wonder if it's supposed to be printing. So now I'm going to switch to verbose. Yeah, because it's captured out, and I feel like I'm giving it a dict. But yeah. Okay, well, let's just see. I mean, if it's an IO thing, then maybe just print. We got an F string here so that we can interpolate. So we'll print the result. No, we'll just print brand, and then we'll do the colon, and then we'll do space, I don't know, 2 spaces, 3 spaces, a little hard to tell. And then we'll do this thing. Yeah, I guess we'll try that. VV verbose. Huh. Oh. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, so now I'm confused about what I'm seeing. So I need to go back to Python and I want to test it, import it, use it. Mm. Oh, yeah, because I did that first. Okay, let's try again. So remember the 7, 3, and 1, 1, those were the counts. And so there's a sort of an out of order there. Okay, that's better. And now I can see that I'm shifted off by 1 space. So that's not a big deal. What a bunch of turkeys. It's like added a 0. You don't like the 0. Come on. How do I tell whether I need to round or not? Well, always good to put the language in. Rounding floating point numbers, knowledge hut. Well, let me just go back to the documentation, round Python. Integer. Number of decimals to use when rounding. Default is 0. Gosh, seems like a really ticky-tack issue. check round. Num. Round num equals round num 2 if round num minus num is 0, return num, else return round num. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to do the import this time because I just want to test my idea here. Okay, check round 3. Check round 3.2. Check round 3.24. Check round 3.247. 9. What about rounding down? 3.9. Okay. I think this will work. Right. So basically my logic here was the insight that if I round the number and it doesn't change the value, then I didn't really need to round it. So then I can just return num. So if I subtract round num minus num and it's nothing, then nothing changed. Now, instead of using round, I can use check round. Personally, I like reporting to do decimal places, but let us attempt that. Check round takes one positional argument, but 2 are given. Correct. Don't need to provide the comma 2 because that's already implicit in that check round function. Oh my gosh. So close. Okay, again, confused because I feel like I was getting the right thing, but I need to see it. Get hung up on thinking it was right. Import it, use it. Okay, there's the 8.5 and the 3.8. There's the 8.5 and the 3.8. Assert that that's equal to that. So we got Nike and Adidas, but we didn't get Puma. But I feel like, well, now I want to look at the test because I'm confused because I thought that we needed to 8.50, 3.80. Oh, okay. So maybe that was what I was confused with the whole time. Hold on. So if I do round 3.8, comma 2. Oh, okay. So how do I force Python to report 2 decimal places? Okay. Python. Jeez. Round is an inbuilt method. Ooh. Format float to 2 decimal places. That sounds better. Format float to 2 decimal places. Oh, what's this? What is that? Okay, I'm gonna put the language. Java to Python guides. Python guides sounds professional. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Okay, let's try it. I don't even know what that is. Curly brace, colon, dot, 2, dot, format, 4.567. Wait a minute. What if I take off these? Because I don't actually want it to be a string. Like that. Not super happy with this solution because now I'm going to have to take this string and turn it back into math.trunk, the integer part. Well, what if I could do something clever like multiplying by 100 and then dividing by 100? 3.8 times 100. Now, round 3.8 times 100 divided by 100, comma 2. Don't. Saw right through that trick. Okay. Oh. Ooh. What's this? Point 3 G. Ba, 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 bum. So did I put the 0 in there? No. Okay, well, how do I change a string to a float? I think I've got this thing wrapped up. Float function. Okay, so we go back up to here. Float. Okay, and what about ah? 4.5 plus 0. Yeah, well, that's one way to accomplish it. This is very satisfactory, I have to tell you. But a great example of how you can accomplish the hardest parts of the problem and then be stuck on some little dumb thing that's like, who wrote this in the test to have a 0 at the end? Why? Just to torture us. So basically, okay, this was very clever. If we actually rounded it, then they weren't equal. It's this case we have to be careful of. So this is right now a float. Okay, so now I'm going to do some more work. Oh, wait a minute. len 4.5. I'm not totally happy with this because rebounds, of course, could be more than 10, although that would be, I think, unusual. So I could just assume that I want the length to be 4 characters. So I'm going to say, I'm going to use this. String equals, and I'm formatting num. And then if len string is 4, then return num. But if it's not, oops. Oh, that's fine. If it's not, because that's the case where we rounded it, but it's the same, so we could just return. Right, we rounded it, it's the same, so right, okay. Else, now we have to do our little workaround, string plus 0, and we want to do float that, and we want to return that. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to use this. And again, I can go directly to test my 4.5697, whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, great. Works. Now take it back here. Works. Now take it back here. Ah! Let's kind of walk through the logic here. So we would have gone into this branch, then we would have done this. So let's do this line where we're passing in 4.5. Okay, now let's do len string 3. We should have done it. We should have done this. So now we're on to this one. Ah! Okay. Okay. Let me see. Right. I mean, the problem is you're going to try. Oh, I've already done the division. So now I'm just. Okay. Let's see. Because you're printing it out. We're just printing it out anyways. Oh, yeah. Okay. Exit. Now I wonder. Just have to do this. Just to be double check. Not crazy. So if I do check round on 4.5, damn it. Oh, because I didn't add the dang 0. Okay. Let's try again. Praise the Lord. Well, that took a lot longer than I thought it would. I don't know how long it took, but that's persistence. Solving a problem. And again, maybe not the best way. Maybe there's a way to use reduce to do it. But I'm like, at this point, I'm just like, I'm done.